I don't know if you guys have tried the Chobani Blueberry Greek Yogurt with maple oatmeal, but yo, that's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt. What's good, friends and family, neighbors, near and far? Welcome to episode 4 of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, aka Nate 3.0, aka Long John Silver, aka Johnny Depp, aka Goldie Jawn, aka John Lovitz, aka the guy who holds the door for you too long and makes you feel awkward because you're so far away, so you pick up speed a little, but then you trip on the curb and you give a panicked before regaining your composure and entering the Wawa, all while thinly hiding your annoyance, aka Big Boy Nate, back at it again with yet another episode. As always, I hope this podcast finds you in good health and in good spirits. A little bit later, I talk with musician Kevin Mooney about how his exposure to The Cure at an early age set him on a path to the bass guitar and a life in music. And pay attention as he gives my favorite response to the unappreciated Jawn question during the Top 10 Countdown segment of the Jawntlet. You will not want to miss it. Before that, I give a review of the new Idles release, Ultra Mono. With this episode, we have reached the halfway point of Season 1. 4 episodes in now. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast and the conversations I've been having as much as I have. This whole thing has been a crazy pipe dream in the back of my mind for quite some time, and to actually see it through has been great, and it's really becoming something more than I ever imagined it would be. So, I just want to, yet again, thank you for listening and being a part of this project. Without you, it's just me. And that ain't the way it's supposed to be. A little over a week ago, Idles released their latest album, Ultra Mono, and y'all, it is an absolute 100% instantaneous capital J Jawn. The first time I saw Idles was their NPR Tiny Desk concert performance last June when they were promoting their second album, Joy as an Act of Resistance, which, also a Jawn, and I was completely gobsmacked. From the opening riff of Never Fight a Man with a Perm, I knew I was experiencing a band that I was about to become insanely obsessed with. So believe me, the anticipation for this, their third full-length album, was high. And my friends, they did not disappoint. Frank Sinatra used to follow a lesson he learned from the great comedian Joey Lewis in crafting his live sets. Lewis believed in hitting the audience with 3 strong jokes before settling into his act. And so, Frank took that approach, starting off each performance with 3 hot numbers before opening up and working the crowd. So with that in mind, I put a lot of weight on the opening tracks of an album. I give it the Frank test. And well, if Frank liked to give you 3 happening ditties to kick off the festivities and set the mood, Idles took that logic and put on a full frontal assault as their opener. From note and beat 1 of War machine gunning through your eardrums into the first 2 singles released from the album, Grounds and Mr. Motivator, the band sets to establish that they are slamming their foot on the gas pedal and they will be goddamned if they are going to let up, smacking you next with the perfect track for 2020, Anxiety. It's there where our loving hosts greet us with a gentle piano reprieve. But psych, fuck you, that shit lasts 32 seconds before motherfucking pedal once again meets motherfucking metal through the wonderfully stunning Kill Them With Kindness. Model Village comes through like a pissed off surf track, while Ne Touche Pas Moi takes on toxic masculine predatory bullshit, topping it with a cherry of a fantastic Dirty Dancing reference. Carcinogenic and Reigns operate as a perfect 1-2 punch, spitting directly in the faces of those who profit from the ever-widening class divide. Then, Idles caps the album with what I see as the trilogy of love, starting with The Lover, which holds one of my favorite lines on the album, I want to cater for the haters, eat shit. From there, the lover opines that he wants to be loved in a hymn, before closing the album reassuring you that true love will find you in the end with the perfect send-off, Danke. Frontman Joe Talbot said in an email blast recently that this album, quote, is meant to fill you with the violence, love, and the rhythm of now. This is less a review than it is a meditation of said love for this band, this album, and what they represent. I am full of love for these guys. They are a big, beautiful, forceful breath of fresh air, and I am glad they exist. And shout out to the Idols community, all is love AF gang. I am fucking glad you exist. In the spirit of Yo, That's My Jawn, I only have 4 categories I will be using in the future to rate things. It's not for me. Yeah, it's good. I can dig it. And that's my fucking Jawn. So, I'm sure it is plain to see that Ultra Mono is receiving my very first That's My Fucking Jawn rating. Check it out, available in stores now and on all of your favorite streaming services. We're going to take a short break, stick around, and we'll be right back with my conversation with Kevin Mooney. My guest today has been a titan in the Lansdale music scene for 20 plus years. His bass playing has graced the low end of many a band, from Chine to Imprint to Leavenworth to Drop Anchor and more. Currently, he can be heard lending his talents to the bluegrass group Three Beards and a Bush, and, as we touch upon during the interview, we graduated high school together. Gang, please join me in welcoming the great Kevin Mooney.
Fucking dehumidifier, is that like is there a background noise that's getting you or anything?
It splits into 2 audio tracks, and I actually can edit everything and clean things up, so you're good.
Okay, cool. I was going to turn it off if it's bothering you, but if not...
Yeah, not a problem at all. As a matter of fact, at some point you're probably going to hear my dogs tap dancing on the floor, so...
No, I can relate, because if anybody, God forbid, comes this time of night, my dogs are going to go bananas, so...
Cool. So let me just jump into this. We are joined today by the great Kevin Mooney, bass player extraordinaire. I want to thank you for doing this and joining us here on the Jawn.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of get started, let all these people know kind of where you come from. Where did you grow up?
Well, much like you, I grew up, in the North Penn area. Childhood was Hatfield, and then eventually in Lansdale when we were in high school, so it was always in that general area, North Penn School District and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was there all the way to, just even when I got married, I was still in Lansdale, and then we eventually settled here in Quakertown. That's where I'm at now. I'm in like East Rock Hill Township.
Awesome. So yeah. when you're growing up, like I always like to ask this question: what kind of music was going on around the house? Like, what were your parents into? What were you kind of?
My parents were into everything. It's hard to remember a lot of specific things. I mean, like in the car and stuff, especially with my mom, it was always like oldies and stuff. My mom was hardcore Beatles, and whatnot. My father was always into like pop music and stuff, like whatever was happening, he was into. But my real music exposure came from my sisters, and because they were older than me, and so when I was like a young teenager, and even probably before I was a teen, I was exposed to like The Cure and Depeche Mode, the Smiths, and all that stuff, and that's the music that really grabbed me for, because I liked stuff before then and whatever as a kid, but at that point, that was when I really started to love music, and even the thought of playing a bass, came from my sisters. My sister had a bass, so I wanted to have a bass, and probably my first time really hearing it and what it does is definitely The Cure, like a lot of their stuff. Excuse me. And the sounds too, like the Disintegration album stuff, like that bass sound was just like, whoa, that's when I really started to, realize what that instrument does and whatnot, in the grand scheme of things, so.
Yeah. So did you take lessons then, or were you?
Never.
No?
I never did. And, at the time, like when we were in high school, I took a lot of those classes and stuff, like solo for performers was cool because you literally just showed up and play. But like music composition and theory and stuff, I was just a jerk off in that class. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't need this shit, and And now, like, I wish I had it, you know, because I just was basically an illiterate musician my whole life, you know, like, and then there was times where it really didn't matter, you know, and there were other times where I definitely felt like I couldn't express myself, you know what I mean? It's like I knew it was in my mind, you know, and sometimes like trying to convey, especially to others that knew and understood stuff, like I'm like, oh, like I can't, give me a few minutes, you know what I mean? Like whereas other people would be like, they're right there because they had the lessons and things like that. So
yeah, that was one of the things that I always kind of feel like I missed out on too, is just being able to like properly explain, like, no, I need it to do this, and you're not doing it, you know? Like,
I was like, just play, I'll figure it out, just play, you know?
Yeah.
But I probably would get there so much faster if I had that foundation, you know?
Yeah. Did bass playing come fast, or like?
I think so, because like I started out like learning how to play stuff, so you know, I was learning how to play like Red Hot Chili Peppers and learning how to play Primus songs and stuff like that, just because they were fun to play. Because playing bass by yourself is fucking boring, you know. And I mean, and that's why like I didn't have the attention span to really sit there and learn scales and learn, you know, all these things that I really should have done. But to sit there and do that and drill that was just boring. I just wanted to play with people, you know what I mean? So that was like really where I would learn and grow, is just by playing with different people and being exposed to different things, you know?
Yeah. So when I'm trying to relate this to, I guess, high school years is probably the easiest. When did you start playing with other people? And
Well, I got my first bass on my 16th birthday, so that's always easy to remember. And then, you know, I played with Jim Lehman a lot, you know, in high school and stuff. Like that was, he and I, like even like in junior high, like we would like fantasize about doing it, you know, be like, oh, someday we're going to have instruments, and someday, or we'd be like, yo, so-and-so has a drum set and there's a bass there, you can play it. And we had no idea what we're doing, you know, and whatever, but it was just the fact that you could get your hands on something, you know what I mean? So that's definitely where it started, was doing stuff with Jim and doing like battle bands at school, which was, you know, once a year. That was the only time we played, you know, up until senior year. Yeah, we played in our band Chine, and we stayed in that band like for probably 5 years. You know, that was like basically our college years was doing that instead of college, you know? So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny, you know, well, I guess not funny. It makes total sense. But like from high school and those times, like whenever I think of you musically, I immediately think of Jim as well. Like it was almost like a package deal.
Oh, we were synonymous. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, and it's also funny because like, I also remember you know, so you're saying, you know, you get to play those one shows a year, but also knowing like throughout school, it's like, dude, you got to hear Kevin play bass. He's sick. He's so sick, you know, like, and it's funny, you know, you saying about Primus and the Chili Peppers, because it was very much like at that time, like locally, I can't think of any other bass players who were doing more melodic kind of solo bass kind of stuff. Could you recognize that at the time, that like, oh, I'm fucking leaps and bounds, you know? Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe not in that respect, you know, because because I didn't come from lessons I was well aware that I didn't really know what I was doing. You know what I mean? I still kind of feel like that way to an extent, but yeah, it's kind of like a thing that, you know, I would listen to that and say, why aren't people doing this more? Like, why is it so exclusive to, you know, the Primuses and those dudes, or like the dudes like, you know, Victor Wooten and those dudes that do like all that crazy shit. It's like really cool by himself, and he does cool stuff, you know, in bands too and whatever. That's not what I'm saying, but it almost seemed like exclusive to that stuff. And but it is hard to squeeze that into the rock music and into the things like that, you know what I mean, as opposed to just doing exactly what the guitar is doing. But there's a time and place for that too. So you know, I've gone through both phases where I've played way too much, and then, you know, other times where I had to really learn how to dial it back and not be so intrusive, because the whole point is to make the song better, not to make a song about like you know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a good kind of measure on like when to sit back, or is it
now? Yes, you know, now that I'm, you know, in my 40s finally, but it took a lot to learn that, you know, because I've played in bands where there's just one guitar player, And when I was with Imprint and stuff, and there was so much room for me to play. It was so easy to do that without maybe being so over the top. There definitely was times that I was, but in that situation, it's 10 times easier to do that. And then if you're in a band with 2 guitar players and they got a lot going on, you really got to step back and try to not step on anybody's toes. Because again, you don't want to. Your whole purpose is to make the song better, so you just got to figure out the way to do that,
Yeah. So, you mentioned Chine, which I don't know if you remember or not. You guys came out to IUP when I was out there.
Fuck yeah, we played at the rugby house, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. And I remember you guys came out. It was actually very weird. I don't even remember when I found out that you guys were you guys, because I had been talking with the guys from Wolfpack, and I think that's how it all got booked. And then you guys showed up, and I'm like, the fuck, I know everybody.
Yeah, they brought us out there, and we were supposed to play, I don't know, at a place or something, and until they went to shit, and I guess the rugby dudes were come fucking play at a rugby house, and it was fucking sick, dude. It was awesome.
That was a crazy weekend. But so I remember all of my friends were completely blown away by you guys, and I was like, oh, that's home shit. I've been hearing, I've been telling you. But how did Chine come about? How did you guys?
We, threw it together, getting ready for Battle of the Bands, at school. And, Jim and Rick and I were playing together, through school. And we had known Harold, the drummer, from previous iterations of Battle of the Bands stuff. He was a couple of years younger than us. So I guess then at that time he was in high school too. We were getting ready for that Battle of the Bands. And Ryan, our singer, we just saw him at Jumpers. We would go to Jumpers and see Dysphoria and Soul Grind and shit like that all the time. And I'd see this dude going bananas in the pit, and I was like, "Yo, we should see if that dude can sing." You know what I mean? Just because he had a presence there, and he had that at shows too, like crazy, So.
Yeah. I mean, did it click immediately when you guys finally got together and kind of started working that, or
I think it took time to find, our spot, our thing, I mean, we knew what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to be heavy as fuck, you know what I mean? And you just kind of got we kind of got lumped into the hardcore scene and stuff, which was fine, but we weren't a hardcore band, and we weren't going to tout ourselves as one, but that's just kind of where we fell into and played with a lot of really cool, hardcore bands and met a lot of really awesome people in that time, But I think it took us a while to get to where we felt like we were really doing what we should be doing. And when we kind of fizzled out and split up, it's kind of a shame because we really were doing our best stuff at that time. Really felt like we all found it and just kind of hit a wall with life and things, at that age in our lives. So.
Yeah, I remember. I'm maybe we can touch on this. How did the whole sugar daddy thing come about?
They just approached us. We didn't really know them from anything other than I knew Matt Clark. Just through small world shit, basically. So I knew him on a personal level that way. But they were basically these dudes that, we heard of Bloodhound Gang. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I heard of those dudes, whatever. And we knew they were a split from that, had connections. Because back then you still got signed. You know what I mean? That was still a thing. Yeah. So, seeing what connections they had and, I mean, they didn't promise a whole lot, it wasn't any kind of whatever. We just kind of saw it as a possible step to, to get to something else. And it just never materialized into anything.
Yeah. So. Because I guess the way I started talking to those dudes was we got them on our TV show. I was working on a late night TV show in college. And we started talking that way. And then I was actually working on a film my freshman into sophomore year of college, and they were like, let us do the soundtrack. And I was like, okay. And they wanted to put you guys on there. And then like I failed out of school. I lost all of the equipment and gear and crew and everything I had put together. And it just kind of fell by the wayside. And then like, I think before all of it fell through, I got a copy of Product of My Surroundings from them. And I remember listening to it and I was like, holy shit, these guys like are fucking killer live, but this is fucking strong. Like, and then I guess like you were saying, life happens and,
yeah. I mean, and I think we were close to, we were working on a full length with them. Like they were recording us. It was coming out okay or whatever. We weren't, really like crazy about it, and their shit just kind of fizzled out. And I mean, they were fun at first, and like we had some fun like weekend shows with them, like going up there and stuff. But like when I met those dudes, like the main dude was like, he just had a shaved head and just seemed like an ordinary guy. You know what I mean? Like, so like when I see those guys now, I'm just like, that's not the dudes that I was fucking, you know what I mean? Like talking to before. Like they seemed very ordinary and just whatever. And so it was kind of cool. And then they got into their whole fucking world or whatever. We were well gone, by then, going our own separate whatever ways.
So then, shortly after that, you guys did put that album out, right? So like,
we did the full length on our own. Like we recorded at Signal Sound here in Quakertown back then. Initially did the compilation that Mitch Martinez threw together on his label at the time, which was done phenomenally well. Like,
was that the Scream and Be Heard one?
Scream and Be Heard, yeah.
Oh my god, that thing was killer.
Yeah, when Mitch would do something like that, he just fucking did it awesome. You know what I mean? And just everything was just done so well. So that was our first time recording there at Signal, and then we decided to go back there to do the full length. Re-recorded some of those songs, and those songs probably weren't as good the second time around, for whatever reason. So it's kind of always been on my radar to put up like a Bandcamp page or something with the Chine stuff, to put like the compilation session, because it was 2 songs on that, and then it was another song from the same session on the 7-inch.
Yeah.
And like I always wanted to kind of like put that up on like Bandcamp as like an EP, and then take those songs out of the full length and put that up as its own thing. You know what I mean? Because it seems more appropriate, but it's just one of those things on your list to do that you just don't get to.
You guys had that cassette demo too, right?
Yeah, that was 96.
Good God.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. When we fucking recorded that, man, like, we went and got the tapes done. We literally went to a place where a fucking dude had this room, and he fucking put all these tapes in these cassettes, and, run, I don't know, 25 of them at a time. And you fucking did it in real time, and the whole bit. Like, we're just and there, for hours getting those tapes done. So you sent them somewhere to get printed, and you took those printed ones to this dude, and he popped them all in and did it. Like, it was a much different world,
That's crazy. I mean, like the amount of effort to do what now is just like, oh my
God. It's like, can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine having that access to that stuff now? Like, with the stuff you were doing then, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So you guys, before you broke up, you played Warped Tour, right?
Yeah, that was like one of the last big things we did. So Ryan, he did work for Warped Tour. Like I don't know if he was driving or if he was doing stage stuff or maybe both. I can't remember. But he did that for quite a few years, actually. So within doing that, he got us hooked up with the Philly show. And then the plan was for the next year to be on the whole tour. But that never came to fruition. So
it's a bummer. That is definitely a bummer. That would have been killer. One of my favorite memories of life, oddly, is I don't know if you remember that weekend trip to West Virginia at that weird campground. It was like,
oh my God, yeah. You were there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I still tell stories about that fucking weekend. Like, that was like the most surreal experience of my entire life. Just like, you just couldn't believe that it existed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just that we still tell the story of a shirtless dude comes up to our spot. You know, we had a campfire or whatever. We were just fucking hanging out, and you had our little gathering area. And dude comes up, no shirt, long greasy ass hair, hold the fucking aluminum bat, and he just comes up and says, "I'll fucking hit myself in the head with this bat." And so we're like, all right, do it. He's just like, pong, like, do it again. Pong, do it again. Pong. He did it like we did it like 5-6 times. So he's done, and we say, "What's your name, man?" And he goes, "Bubba." And it was just like, I was like, where the fuck am I? Like, what is going on? Like, it's just, it was so fucking bizarre, but it was quite the experience, to say the least.
It was easily one of the weirdest shows I've ever been at in my life.
Absolutely.
In the middle of nowhere and just heavily populated. Like, it was so bizarre.
It really was. It really was crazy, because we went up there a couple times, like even before that, we played at that Common Grounds place, it was called, and those shows were insane. Like, those were like, that was the most fun we had with traveling with those guys. You go down there and the place was fucking packed. They thought you were the greatest fucking band they ever saw. You know what I mean? So it was a blast. Like, it was cool. And then we went there, and it was like, we probably should never come back here.
Weirdest thing I remember from that was, for anybody who wasn't there, which is I'm sure everybody listening, but we all camped there. And like, I remember there was like someone driving around on a dirt bike, like pitch black at night. And like, one of the guys that we were hanging out with was like, "Oh, that's just a little Kawasaki. I'll knock him off that and take his bike." And I was like, where are we? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, what's going on? Like, it was fucking crazy. Like, people were just lighting off. I remember people were lighting off like little firecrackers or something. And you just in the middle of the night, you just hear bang, and you just hear some dude go, "You ain't shit."
Yeah.
like, what? Oh, it was wild. There's a lot more about that I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
This, but
yeah. Very true. Very true. So, in doing this, I've been, it's weird interviewing like, people that I know, because like, I know people, but I'm like, oh wait, there's like big, huge gaps of things I have to fill in. But I came across a, comment on a YouTube video, from maybe like 2 or 3 years ago that said you guys were working on new material. Did anything?
On Chine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of were. So like, Mark Stokey, was a friend of mine, and when he was much younger, he used to come to Harold's house and watch us practice and stuff. And he was just like this young kid. I don't know if he lived in the neighborhood or what. I think his mom dropped him off. I don't know where the hell he came from, but he would always come to watch us and be like, "Where'd this kid come?" You know, whatever. So then years later, you know, he was really a huge, you know, person in the hardcore scene in Lansdale and stuff. And we reconnected when I was playing with Leavenworth, and just good friend, you know, just someone that I knew for a long time. So another really good friend, Dave Heck, was having a benefit / tribute after Mark had died. So we were going to get together and play for that. Yeah, it was just weird because like, we couldn't all do it, you know, like Jim wasn't around. So then, we were going to have, Matt Buckley play guitar with us, who played guitar with me and Drop Anchor and many other things. So we started playing a little bit, and like, you know, Ryan was going to come in from California for it the whole bit. And then that was when Harold got sick. So it kind of, you know, threw all that by the wayside. But that was kind of one of Ryan's stipulations, was like, yeah, I'll do it if we fucking write 3 new songs. So we're like, okay, you know, like, sure. Yeah. In fact, I think he may have wanted to do all new stuff, and we're like, we can't do that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta play some stuff or whatever. So it was cool for a few weeks when we were rehearsing, and then, you know, things happened. So it never got to really come to fruition.
So after Chine, Imprint comes next, or?
Yeah. So, yeah, in fact, that was Harold. Harold was doing that before I was, and at the time, I think I hadn't played for like a year. Before that, I was seriously talking to this band called Neck out of New York, and I was going to go up there and join them and do stuff like really, really awesome, crazy, heavy shit, whatever. They turned into a band called Car Bomb, and I saw them play with Dillinger Escape Plan a couple of years ago, whatever. But yeah, that didn't happen, and so at the time I hadn't been playing for like a year, and Harold ended up with those guys in a kind of different iteration, and so I was kind of like, well, if you ever need somebody, and so they kind of shuffled their deck and whatever, and then I ended up going and play bass for Imprint, and Matt Johnson, who sung, was playing guitar, and he went to just sing, or excuse me, he was playing bass and went to just singing because he'd rather do that, and then it was just the four of us, and we carried on as Imprint, stopped once or twice, and in fact, we were playing a few years back. We were playing quite a bit, working on a really big slew of 90s covers. Like, we were learning Faith No More songs and Helmet songs and fucking Snapcase and, like, all this shit. Like, we were, like, it was just fun and easy. Like, you go to practice and learn, like, 3 Rage songs. And, so we were going to just, sprinkle in our original shit or whatever, but just go play a show where we play just 90s stuff. All the stuff that we listened to in high school and shit. Yeah. So, that kind of came to a halt too. So,
yeah. So, what kind of, was that more, kind of Lansdale shows, or did you,
It was, yeah. So Imprint, we played at the time, Moliteers a lot when it was Moliteers. That was probably one of our first spots. So we played out at like different spots all over, but we really settled in at the Pizza Pub when it was still over on 40 Foot. Like, that was our spot. Like, that place was just packed with people whenever we played there. And that was like, I don't know, mid to late 20s, I guess. So that was when you still went out. You know what I mean? And whatever. So we did a lot of that, and then we did a bunch of places in Philly, but the biggest thing was actually the new Grape Street, when Grape Street was on like Main Street.
Yeah.
When they were there, we did a lot of shows there. Because I basically got to the point where the dude would just give me a date, let me bring the rest of the bands in, and we had the whole night. And the place, it would be packed, and it was cool there too, because like it was a happening spot at Manayunk. Like, we even had we would have our own crowd, but then the place had its built-in crowd. Like, you'd see a bus of like a bachelorette party roll up and go, and not that they ever bought a CD or something, but still, it just you'd see those types of crowds. They just a totally packed place like that. It was cool. Like, that was definitely the peak, for those times.
Yeah, that was like I really thought that place was going to stick around and kind of work, but it was
so great. It was so great. Like, people were like, oh, I'm the old place. Like, we played there too, like before they moved back. And yes, like it's cool history, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But the setup at that other place, I don't know who screwed that up, but when there was definitely a point when we would play, and not only when we would play, I just mean at that time, that place was bumping every night.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was great. I played that room and I played the small room a lot, acoustic.
Yeah.
And
we did both. Imprint would do both. We would do in the same night. We'd do the small room and then move on another room. Yeah, it was so fun. Like, it was just so cool doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great place. So what happened there? How did that kind of?
So we fizzled in and out here and there, and then when we ended that, the natural progression was to drop Anchor.
Yeah.
So then, Matt Buckley joined us, who had recorded us. He'd done our last 2 records, the other one that we haven't released yet. But Brad and I had played with him in other, whatever bands. So a real natural thing for me, Brad, Buckley, and Harold to start playing. And then Matt Buckley and I started doing the vocals just basically because we didn't want to deal with finding a singer. We're like, let's just do it ourselves. And we did a lot of bouncing back and forth. I mean, we put out a bunch of records, so it was probably, 3 or 4 records like that until finally, like the last 2, Matt was just like, you fucking sing, and he, I'll do backups and whatever, but just you do it, whatever. And at that time, this was after Chine played its last show like a few years back, like way back when, because we tuned to like A sharp, and so the one time we went to drop anchor practice, it was like, yo, check out Chine tuning, and we were just like, all right, so that's whatever. And so when we started at that point writing songs in A sharp, that's when I was doing singing for full time, and that was like our last two records were like that.
Yeah, it's great stuff. The thing I like about it is, and this isn't to say one's better than the other, but I feel like you guys got very melodic, especially towards like the last album there. Was that like kind of a planned growth, or is that just kind of what happened from playing with each other? I think that was definitely a natural growth, and just continuing to get more and more comfortable, especially for me, like when we did Pulverize, I was like, okay, like some of it I really liked. And then when we released Sierra, it was like the first time I felt like, yeah, I'm singing, you know what I mean? Instead of being like, well, I'm just kind of doing it, always kind of like just doing it to be the guy to do it. You know what I mean? Not for whatever. And like, that was like the first time I felt like, okay, I'm doing this. And I felt like I owned it, you know what I mean? And whatever. And even before anything happened, we started to kind of fizzle out like on its own. It's so weird how that stuff happens. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, we released that little EP. It was great. We released a video. It was like really good and like whatever. And then we were just kind of like, Just like, is that the one that Mitch directed, or?
No, this was the second one. So the one Mitch did was called Always Tempting Fate. And that was like, had like the cool story and everything. And then we did one for Inferno off Sierra. And that's literally just like us playing. Like that's what the whole video is, us playing in like a room. In fact, it's the warehouse. It's the warehouse of my where I work. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was like both videos were shot there for playing, because it was like, does anybody have a big space? And I'm like, well, use my warehouse. Just move a few things, and you have a wide open space. So. It's just funny that both videos were shot there. So that's
cool. Yeah, I actually just caught that video for the first time. I'd seen the Mitch one when it came out, but
which is so cool. Like he did, again, like he does such a great job with stuff.
Yeah, easily could be on any music channel or anything like.
Absolutely,
just seamless. It looks so professional.
It was, and it was it was a very professional experience too, like filming and stuff. And even the second one, and you're doing stuff over and over again and whatever. It's just as like annoying as mixing a record or something, but it's just cool and it's just fun. Like the process is cool, because especially consider you're going to work 2 days later. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you're in that moment. You're kind of living that or whatever. So. It's funny though, like, because like, especially when we did the Inferno one, I'm like, well, I'm just going to sing, because it's like, you're playing the track as loud as you can, because it's got to be louder than the drums. Obviously, he's got to actually do it.
Actually hit it, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't imagine faking it. So like I sang through it like I think twice, and then couldn't talk anymore. So the rest of it, I was like, you're literally like faking. It's very that part of it is strange. You're just like you're lip syncing yourself. It's really fucking bizarre. But it's a fun experience.
That's crazy. Before you guys broke up, fizzled out, you got to open for the Deftones. How did that come about?
That's a pretty cool story. This was back in 2011 or something. I don't know. So I'm literally on vacation with my family in Cape Cod, where we go every year. Cape Coders,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, man.
so we go there every year, and gosh, I think this was only like our second year at the time there, and I'm literally like, so we camp, so I'm digging trenches because it's raining, and I'm trying to divert water from our campsite, and my phone is blowing up. And someone's, I can't even remember, someone's calling me saying, so-and-so said on Facebook that they need an opener for Deftones at, House of Blues, blah, 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 and, they want one of you guys to contact them. Or I'm like, yeah, okay. Like,
Yeah.
You've heard that song and dance how many times? So I call up Matt Buckley. I'm like, dude, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I'm on vacation. Can you look into this, please? At least, see it through. And he calls me back maybe an hour or two later. He's like, yeah, it's real. And it's like, it's the next day. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you serious? I'm 8 hours away, blah, blah, blah. It's in Atlantic City. At the time, we hadn't played. I mean, even just besides being on vacation, we hadn't played for like 2 or 3 weeks, just happenstance, whatever. And I was like, fuck. And so at the time, our really close friends were also in Cape Cod. And my buddy, at that time, his job was truck driving overnight. Like, he did third shift driving truck. He's like, let's go. I'll drive. It's like night of work for me. Like, I'm totally used to that. It's like, let's just fucking do it. So we're like, all right, we're doing it. So I'd fucking tell them all, like, okay, get this from Harold's house for me, blah, blah, blah. I need this. I need that, da, da, da. And we drive, me and my buddy, we drive all the way down to fucking Atlantic City from Cape Cod. And we get there, and they take you through the showboat. I think that's where the House of Blues was, the showboat, right?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, and they take you through the back. And excuse me one second, I'm going to make this stuff.
Yeah.
You can edit that, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm leaving it in, buddy.
Anyway, they walk you through the joint, like, it's like you're fucking Henry Hill and taking Karen through the play, and you're all through the back shit and everything. And we get there, and their tour manager's like, oh, thanks, thanks for being able to do this last minute, and we're just like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, yeah, no problem, man. Like, and everybody meets there, and like, you guys are gonna have an hour sound check, like, oh, perfect. We can run through everything, and then they were doing a meet and greet, like, with VIP package type shits, which took our entire time, and we ended up having I think we ended up having 3 minutes to sound check. So we were like, okay, let's run through every part we can fucking think of, and okay, done. Like, everything sounds incredible. I mean, you talk about like monitors or whatever. I'm like, that was the first time like I was ever really able to hear myself like sing and play, like, and to the point where it was almost as if you had headphones on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the quality or whatever. But it was just like, yeah, set up, play that, and that was that. And then so we had this obviously come off stage. They let everybody in. They're like, you're on at blah 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 time. And as soon as that time hit, the lights go out. We fucking walk out. Like, everybody goes bananas. Like, no idea who the fuck we are, And it was cool because, like, when you go see a band, man, it's like and you see the band walk out on stage like that. I'm like, man, I just want to do that one time. Because it's like, I'm not going to do that at the fucking bar. I'm not going to set up my shit, put it down, and walk off and come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
To actually do that one time was pretty fucking cool. Yeah, it was just total fluke shit. Somebody saw, and my friend Sam saw that he knew the booker there. And at that time, it was a small tour for Diamond Eyes, and they were about to go to Europe right after that. So it was a small tour, so they didn't have an opener. So they were letting everybody book locals, and whoever had that bailed. So they were scrambling to fill it with somebody local. And they're like, we don't want hardcore. We don't want a hardcore band. We don't want a metal band. And my friend Sam sent it to the booker, like, check these guys out. And he's like, have them call me. And that was that. So
that's awesome. I hope you bought him beer for.
Yeah. We make sure he was there, and it had a primo view and the whole bit. It was cool though. My biggest fear though, because like they're one of my favorite bands, so I was like, I'm gonna go, and they're gonna be dicks, and it's gonna ruin it for the rest of my life. And they were all awesome as shit. Like
that's good.
So like ordinary, and you know what I mean. Like shooting the shit with them backstage was like no different than the show at Great Street was. You know what I mean? Talking to some band I didn't know, so it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the worst is meeting a hero and finding out they suck. Like,
and it's like totally ruined. And I was just mad because like I never did, like I never got a picture or nothing. I was never like, hey, can we get blah, blah, blah? I was like, I just wanted to be cool. So you know what I mean? I'm like, just wanted to act like I'd been there before. And I do feel like I did that almost too much, because I should have at least, you know, fucking gotten a picture or something, you know. But whatever, it was cool. It was the dream for a day, you know.
Yeah, you got the memory. That's the important thing there, dude.
Yeah,
that's the important thing. So now, you just said you came from practice. So what do you got working on now?
So I just came from my bluegrass band.
Oh, Three Beards in a Bush. Yeah,
Three Beards in a Bush, which has been such a cool experience. I actually just hit a year with them not too long ago. And it's, as far as an experience for learning and stuff, because they're all like, oh, it's C D da da da, and they're just playing, and I'm like, what? So this is like the most I've ever come to, you know, as close as I've been to doing that sort of thing. Where I'm like, okay, I'm doing the notes instead of like 3 5 0, you know what I mean? Like doing tabs. Like this is like the most legit I've been as far as that goes. And it's been really cool because, you know, as a player, you know, I'm not hiding behind distortion and fuzz and blah 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 blah. I'm playing an acoustic bass, not an upright, but just an acoustic bass guitar. So from playing, I'm really excited to play electric music again, because my playing physically is so much better from playing all that clean stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Have you found that your playing style has adapted?
Yeah, for sure. And to the point where, like, again, sometimes I feel like, shit, am I not like bluegrassy enough? Because I don't know that stuff from whatever. I mean, you know, they could tell, like, we do some, you know, more classic bluegrass type stuff, you know, whatever, traditional, whatever you want to call it. And then, you know, Tracy writes a lot of originals too. And I'm like, she could tell me they were all original. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes I try to get more bluegrassy, and other times it just lends for me to play like me, you know, especially because we'll cover like Rancid and Ramones and, you know, pop songs and 80s. And like, we're really doing a lot of like shit people would know, you know, and enjoy seeing out and seeing a, you know, bluegrass version of something like that. And it's really fun to take a song and turn it into that, you know what I mean? So it's been really cool. And definitely, like, as far as like clicking and getting in with the band and getting along with everybody, it was just like the fastest experience of my life, to where I was just like, I love these people, you know what I mean? Like very, very quickly, it's been really cool. It's been awesome. But I do miss loud shit. Yeah.
I bet. Are you guys playing out? Like, I know the pandemic
fucked
everything up, but
it really did. And I wish we had done more like streaming and stuff, and obviously we still could, but I wish we'd kind of jumped on that boat. But we were just talking about tonight, like, man, we really need to play out, but it's like, well, I really want to. But we were just getting into it, and like our biggest show was probably at Well Crafted at Lansdale, and great spot. They have great beers there, you know.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping to make that like home, you know, and then everything happened. So I think eventually we'll get back there.
Yeah, I'm playing out right now is so weird. Like I have a gig coming up on Sunday. I'm playing outdoors at Tex-Mex, and like it's so weird because I want to promote it because obviously that's what they want. But equally so, I'm like, just stay home. You know?
Yeah, you almost feel weird suggesting someone go somewhere. Yeah. Like guilt, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I've been streaming those sets, because I'm just like, hey, you don't have to come. Plus, you know, like I'd rather you not. But
yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like I think about it for myself, I'm like, and like even Well Crafted was having people outside, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool to do. And then I'm like, I just feel like it's just not time yet, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Well, I would love to put you through the Jauntlet at this point, which is our standard little thing that we do here on this show. The first few questions are just little one-hitters, and then we go through a top 10.
Okay.
Let's see how you do. We'll start with the one-hit wonders. One-hit wonder number one, Hagar or Roth?
Hagar or Roth? I got to go Roth just because, like, you know, that's my first, you know, you Hot for Teacher and like shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that shit was just so badass. And like, and even that one in general, you know what I mean? Like you think about that guitar lick and we singing over that. And it's like, so like either he just got really, really lucky or, you know what I mean? Or he was, you know, really ahead of something there. You know what I mean? So But I can appreciate Hagar too.
There's great Hagar songs.
His hits are undeniable. You know what I mean? Right. It's just
the Roth stuff just has such energy to it. That's just
man. But I think they're one of the few bands that have managed to, you know, do the second singer thing, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's like them and AC/DC, you know, like
right, exactly, you know? Exactly. Like that's a tough thing.
One hit wonder number two, Biggie or Pac?
That's hard. I'd probably go Pac. I enjoy listening to him more.
Yeah.
Both were very late for me. You know what I mean? Like when they were out, I was not really into them. It just wasn't my bag. I mean, I liked Tupac in the movies and stuff, you know, and whatnot. Was Juice? Was that his like first? Like that was cool. You know what I mean? But Biggie, I appreciate. You know, I definitely. Yeah, it's tough because it's not a big one for me. So
yeah, all right, right on. Number three, Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
That's Nirvana for me because, I mean, Pearl Jam with the longevity, which obviously circumstance changes that, sure. They're still at it and incredible following and all that stuff. But I think even when I rewind to Nirvana, it's more like 10 was ape shit, obviously, of course, you know what I mean? And but I didn't really hang on to them much after that, you know? Like Versus was next, right?
Yep, yeah.
So, you know, I liked some of that, and I still like some of their new stuff. Every once in a while they have a song that I really like even, you know, a single that I really like, whatever, but I appreciate it, but it just never grabbed me like Nirvana did. And even like for me it's In Utero, you know what I mean? Like obviously I got Wayne and Nevermind, and I got into Bleach, you know what I mean, after that. But In Utero like almost bums me out because there wasn't a follow-up to that, you know what I mean? I was like, I want to hear what was after that. Yeah, and that's when I get bummed out.
Yeah. I definitely feel it, man. I definitely feel it. Number four, Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's easy.
Follow up, favorite Beatle?
Like I said, I gotta go Paul because of the bass, you know. But he's just cool. He's way more chill. I mean, Lennon's cool. He got weird, you know, and you know, he Lennoned it up, and that's not to discredit any of the others, but you know, even Ringo. But But yeah, I mean, Paul's just cool. You know,
Yeah.
he's the coolest one.
Yeah. Final one-hit wonder, and this one it's a little tough for reasons outside of the one versus the other. But Prince or Michael Jackson?
I'm gonna go Prince because he's way more badass, and I would say probably did more of his stuff himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he totally fucking shreds. You know what I mean? He's such an underrated guitar player. You know. Yeah, it just, his stuff was a little more impactful. I mean, you know, Michael Jackson was larger than life and whatever and all that stuff. Everybody, you know, was, as a kid, you know, I remember going to the mall and getting Michael Jackson buttons to put on your fucking jacket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to have that shit. But you can look back at Prince's stuff, especially now, and it's like, it's still bad as fuck, you know? So.
Yeah, it definitely goes. I love it. All right. So now this is the top 10 countdown. This is, I use the word Jawn freely, as everybody in this area uses the word Jawn freely. So allow it to mean anything you want it to. It can be music. It can be anything. So just use Jawn as a descriptor for everything. But number one of the top 10 countdown, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you found yourself obsessed about as a kid?
Probably, I don't know. There could be shit I'm forgetting, but I feel like when I really was like locked into something, it was The Cure. Like I was like, yo, because I mean, by then it was, you know, they had so many, you look at their catalog, you know, up until what, 89 when Disintegration came out, and like all the stuff before that is so different. So it was like, you really could get lost in so much, you know, there's so many moods and so many, you know, whatever. That was because I was young too. So, and it wasn't just, oh, I'm depressed, I listen to The Cure. You know, right. I mean, it was like they're way more, you know, dynamic than that. Like that's such a cliche. So I think that was probably my first, like, that's kind of what started it all for me for music. So
yeah. All right. Number two, what's your current Jawn? What are you loving right now?
That fucking Hum record.
Okay. All right.
I love it. Did you listen to that?
I heard a little bit. I haven't been able to sit down. My music has been completely overtaken by, I don't know, have you heard Idols?
No.
Okay, so they just released this album Ultra Mono, and it's fucking awesome. Like it's really they refer to it as aggressive love. It's
okay.
Like, it's like really hard, but he's like kind of just like love each other and stuff like. It's
yeah. I'll have to check that out. No, that Hum record. I mean, just the sound and like the bigness of it, like especially even just like that first track. I was like, holy fuck! And like, I only really know them from like Stars and stuff. You know, you know that song, or whatever. And but I was just like, wow, like really. But as far as like a band, I kind of got lost in more recently, like as you know, going back in their back catalog is La Butcherettes. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're like, they're from Mexico and like Texas, and I saw them open for Faith No More at the Electric Factory, like way back when. And I think at the time there was just 3-piece, and this gal, she plays guitar and keyboards and stuff, and she was just fucking badass. And it was very interesting. And I was like, wow, it was like one of those things that's like, where you're actually interested in the opening band instead of being like, you get the fuck out of here. So I was like, wow. And then like, I never looked them up. Like I was like, I meant to and just never did. And then a couple years later, I saw them open for At the Drive-In, when At the Drive-In came back around. I'm like, oh, that's that fucking band. That's that gal, you know, and whatever. And again, same thing. I didn't check them out. And then it popped up on like, I don't know, a playlist or something or whatever. And I heard a newer song, and it got me going down a tangent of like their other music. And it was definitely one of those ones like, fuck, I wish I checked it out then. You know what I mean? Especially my wife and I went to see them, you know, last year, and it was like, it was fantastic. Like one of the best shows I've seen in a while. And I'm like, man, I missed out on all that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate when you discover stuff a little too late.
It's too familiar anymore, man. Like I'm finding all kinds of stuff that I just completely either overlooked or like was like, I'm not listening to that, and then like I can hear it, and it's
you fall into things. You're like, how the fuck did I miss this?
Yeah. Number 3, what was the first concert you ever went to?
Hall & Oates, 2nd grade.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's a good one.
Yeah, my parents took the whole family, whatever, and it definitely left an impression. Like seeing that in person, it was just like, whoa, this is the craziest thing ever.
That's awesome. Where was that show at?
Spectrum.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Number 4, what was your last concert?
I wonder if it was that La Butcherette show at Hard Rock. I can't remember because of COVID. Yeah. I was supposed to see Deftones, or maybe it was Cave-In. I saw Cave-In at the TLA, and that was like a really surreal experience too, because their bass player died like a couple years ago in a car crash. And as far as like playing like rock music, he's definitely like one of my biggest like influences. And he had died, tragically or whatever. And they had released, like they demoed a bunch of shit and while he was still alive. So they recorded vocals on that and released it. And it's really cool. It's all like kind of lo-fi sounding because it was literally demos, and whatever. It sounded really cool. So they toured with another guy playing bass that they were all in like bands together in one iteration or another. So it was like one of those things where it like made total sense for this dude to tour with them. And it was just fantastic. And he was fantastic. And it was just like, it was really, really freaking cool. It was just like it's one of those things you didn't think you would see, you know what I mean? And it was awesome. And then my wife and I went, and it was like rando weeknight or something. We almost didn't go. And then we finally went, and we went to gyms afterwards and the whole 9 yards. And it was a really cool night. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Number 5, what is your favorite concert you ever went to?
Wow. Damn, that's really hard. Because I've been to so many. Probably like if you just want to talk about impressions and just like, I can't believe I saw that. Well, it's probably 2, obviously Nirvana, but I saw Nirvana after In Utero.
Oh shit!
But which was amazing, absolutely amazing. Pat Smear was already with them at the time, and it was just phenomenal. But probably the biggest like hindsight thing was probably Palooza '93.
Okay.
Alice in Chains and Primus and shit. Because I definitely seen Lane when he was still like healthy, somewhat, whatnot, and like really had it. That's definitely one of those things I'm so glad I saw. But there's so many like you can list of like, oh shit, I never thought I would see this, like
yeah.
I could go on and on. I don't know how much time.
I love it. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you always wanted to, alive or dead?
Well, in talking about that, it made me realize I don't think I ever saw Soundgarden, and that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah. I was bummed. They did well, it wasn't Soundgarden, it was they did that Temple of the Dog reunion tour.
Oh wow.
Right before Cornell died. And I had like a conflict that night, and I was like, I can't go, but maybe they'll do something else. And then
yeah, I mean that's an easy one that sticks out. There's probably others if I tried really hard. I've definitely been lucky to see some of the ones I've seen, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
All right, no, it's a good one. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn, something you wish got more love.
Oh my God, that's wow. What is underappreciated? This sucks. This is like total record store question. Like you go to the fucking record store, like I don't know what I fucking want, and you just, you know what I mean? You just aimlessly look around. And I'm gonna be like in the shower later and be like, fuck, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. What is underappreciated right now? Well, that's easy. Underappreciated right now is kindness. I mean,
I love it.
It's just unbelievable how cool it is to be an asshole right now. And I mean, there's something to be said for being, a funny asshole and just being whatever. Sure. But it nowadays, and the what and why is irrelevant, but we've definitely allowed ourselves to really be cool with being a piece of shit, and that sucks. So
I 100% agree. Like, I've been telling people that's kind of why I started, like, this project, like, kind of grew out of me just wanting to start a website where I just talked about shit I liked. That's all I wanted. But now, like, being able to talk to other people and just hear, like, I just want to hear, like, good, like, fucking just, these are things I like, not something I hate, not something, like something like, and it's great to just hear people, like, kind of gush about, the things they like instead of fucking just shitting on everything, like.
Well, that's the thing. It's so easy to do, it's psychologically, it's so easy to stand on the other side of something and say, well, I'm against that. There's not a lot of risk there. And the risk is actually being for something. And that's what people struggle with doing, I think,
Yeah, fucking A. Well said. Well said. Number 8, favorite album.
Can we go to commercial break, or I'm allowed to cheat and look at my phone and see if something pops in my head?
Yeah, if you wanna take a look.
Mr. Bungle, California.
Oh, excellent choice. Excellent choice.
That's definitely one that's like entrenched, like as I sit here on my bar that just survived the latest dumpster purge that we just completed. I used to have this in my apartment, and there'd been many nights where we would fucking sing that entire record, and just sit here and drink and listen to that record. So
awesome.
That's definitely one that's ingrained.
Yeah, respect. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release and even apologize for it if it's not good.
I don't know if there is anyone anymore. I mean, it probably would be Mike Patton or Chino. But like even both of those guys, like there's probably stuff I still haven't heard anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I just don't keep up like I used to.
There's so much content. It's so hard.
It's so hard. And Patton's probably a better example of that, because it's like there's stuff that's not good, but you'll just be like, yeah, well, you don't really get it.
yeah. I love it. All right, final one, 10th, Jawn. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Can be anything.
I guess just I mean, it's really, you can take the easy way out and just say love, because it's like, it's almost like Jawn in a sense, you know what I mean? Because you think about all the things that you love. Like, I love going to the Cape, and I love playing, and I love my kids, and I love my family, and I love my, you know what I mean? And all these things. So that feeling that you get, of love for people, for doing, for playing, for, whatever, that allows me to include a lot of things.
Yeah. No, I think it's an honest, respectable answer. I love it. So if anybody listening wants to find anything you're working on or anything you got out there, what can they search on the internet to track you down?
Well, they definitely can find 3 Beards in a Bush on the Facebooks and the Instagrams. We haven't been posting a lot of content recently, but that's going to change. We haven't really been playing much, but that's definitely one cool thing about playing that kind of stuff. I mean, we literally play on Tracy's porch, And it's like, you can just set up the phone and you have a video, you know, it's not like our fucking crazy rock shit where it's such a to do anything with it.
Right.
It's really easy to do that. And we plan on getting back to doing that, especially as we learn more songs and write more songs. But I'll eventually be releasing something with Imprint.
Nice.
Stuff that we never finished. And then we have a studio project that, God, it's up to almost 2 years now. That was some of us from, well, it's basically like Imprint and Drop Anchor mostly together. And our buddy Jace from All Right Jr. is going to do vocals on it. And it's just kind of one of those long, grueling things that I don't even know if we're ever going to finish this fucking thing. But it's pretty cool. I hope to get it out. I hope people get to hear it. And, you know, then eventually be doing more rock music, just nothing to formally say yet, but
yeah,
some shit in the works. So.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah. Before I do let you go, I have to say one last thing. We're 0-2, right? Right? 0-2-1, right?
0-2-1.
Yeah, I don't even want to pretend that exists. Do you think the Eagles can salvage this season?
Only because I will say yes, only because the division is so fucking horrendous. I mean, we could be in first at the end of this week or after this week. I think it's mathematically possible. So you consider that, it's ridiculous. But I mean, you've seen crazier shit happen and stuff. But and take the quarterback out. You can have Joe Montana. I don't care. Like, everybody wants to fucking whatever. Okay, fine. Get rid of Wentz. That's great. I think whoever it is, they're going to get fucking annihilated right now. Yeah. And you look at the personnel that's being put together, and the scheme and the coaching that's being done right now. I don't care who it is. It could be prime Tom Brady. It could be fucking Joe Montana. We would be losing games. So.
They settled for a tie. Like it's
unreal.
Settled for a tie.
It's unreal. But at the same time, though, it's the kind of thing where it's like they could not lose the rest of the year, and it wouldn't surprise me, or they could not win all year. And
dude, I said after they won the Super Bowl, like I'll give them the benefit. They can do whatever they want for at least another 2 years or so, and then I'll start to get.
Yeah, I'm already over it because it's like you got to do better. It's like you can't draft a quarterback in the second round if you invested all this in this other guy. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're not helping him with that. So that's stupid. So then if you're saying you don't believe in this quarterback and you're saying it's time to move on, then you're a fucking moron. You just signed him last year.
That's right.
So you're just either way, you're telling me you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. 100% makes sense. Kevin, I want to thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. That was fucking awesome.
That's awesome. That was a blast. I'm glad. I have been, looking forward to this because it's been a while. And
absolutely.
But all right, man. Well, I'm going to end this recording and then we can chat a little bit real quick. But
okay, cool.
All right, dude. Cool. Big thanks again to Kevin Mooney for sitting and talking to me today. You can find 3 Beards in a Bush at 3 Beards 1 Bush on Instagram. That's at the number 3 Beards, the number 1 and Bush on Instagram, or by searching 3 Beards in a Bush on Facebook. And you can check out Drop Anchor at www.dropanchorband.com and check out Imprint at imprintpa.bandcamp.com. And now, once again, allow me to shill. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps and share it across all the social medias. Tell all your friends about it. And I know you. You are working really hard on being a truly super awesome Jawn Scout and earning your Jawn Scout merit badge for citizenship of the world. So lace up them boots, go that extra mile, and rate and review us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/yothat'smyjawn for updates and live streams. And find Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube for the video companion to this podcast and more. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. We did it! Another podcast in the books. Episode 4, the halfway point. I do hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you grant me the opportunity to entertain you once again in 2 weeks. Until then, Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production, written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Special thanks goes out to Fox Run Brands, Natalie Runkle-Tompkins, and of course, the very lovely Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to see on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. But until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.